They came in splendour, clad in dusk, with stars wound in their breath and bone, and found the daughters tending fire, alone beneath the oaks and stone. The altar woke when feet divine defied the bounds that held the skies, a gate unsealed by yearning hands that lit the flame with stolen cries. The fire consumed but did not cleanse, it gave no shape, it knew no name. It danced without a priestly form, a breathless torch, a wild acclaim. Without the gate the altar closed, the flame dispersed like fractured speech, and all the world fell out of tune, as if the sky had cracked its reach. The waters mourned their opened womb, the earth denied its right of seed, for sanctity requires three, a call, a cross, a place of need. Now altars rise but cannot speak, and gates stand open with no path, while fire leaps from hand to hand, a mirror for the Father's wrath. The tablets bore the etched command inscribed by flame and sealed in frost, but hands that touched them shaped a law already fractured, already lost. What once was given, clear and bright, became a mirror turned askew, and those who grasped it wrote new scrolls with every law the old withdrew. The throne that rose from such intent stood not on justice but on fear, for power bends the sacred word until the voice is hard to hear. The scroll will call, the hand respond, the throne establish edicts tall, but if the throne corrupts the text, the scroll itself begins to fall. So rain returns to source again, and poison blooms within the well. The law once clean now breeds its chains, and even angels cannot tell. From will to deed, from deed to rule, the cycle spins with fevered breath, and those who try to hold the crown inherit consequence and death. The summit burned with thunder's shroud, where silence held the law in flame, and from that cloud the words came down, though no one knew the speaker's name. They etched their mark in molten script, but bound the meaning far too tight, and tethered fire to stone and fear, not mercy, truth, or second sight. The people gathered, not to hear, but shield their eyes from searing light. For what was law without a voice, a shadow carved from sacred night? The cry arose, a scattered sound like wind through halls of broken code, a whisper from the boundless edge where tongues of nations never flowed. The mountain watched, withdrawn in mist. The law fell flat upon the field, and in the camp no hearts were turned, just blood on parchment, none were healed. When law becomes a severed thing, the cry remains, but deaf and thin, and what began in covenant dissolves from ritual into sin. They bore the seed of fractured stars, not sons but echoes made of wrong. Their birth was theft, their blood unclaimed, their strength a curse, their cries too strong. The womb was used, then cast aside, no lineage held, no mother stayed, and from that breach the world forgot the shape of hope, the path it laid. The names were written, then unwrote, each syllable devoured by flame, as if the future reached behind to strip the past of face and frame. These children bore no elder's tale, no prophecy, no tribal thread. They walked in might, but spoke no word, and died with none to mark them dead. The line was broken at the root, the crown fell backward into soil, and all the oaths that might have held now rot beneath abandoned toil. To lose the air is to unmake the seed, the tree, the ground it knew, and so the ages closed their book before the ink had even grew. The sky was sealed with iron breath, and prayers returned as molten hail. The well ran dry beneath the stars, its throat a tomb, its silence pale. The mark once given to the line was scraped away with cursed hand, and none could tell the chosen ones from strangers driven from the land. The source that fed the sacred womb grew salt where once it flowed with grace, and nothing born beneath that seal could rise to bear a rightful face. A covenant that once enclosed became a blade, turned inward fast, and every tribe was made a ghost, no future grafted to the past. Where nothing enters, nothing grows, the world becomes a hollow gate, a door that opens only into echo loss and mirror fate. They stood before the temple's mouth, but none could pass, and none could call. The sky, the soil, the sign withheld, the covenant began to fall. The ark stood still in sacred dark, its golden shell an empty drum. No law within, no staff, no bread, just echoes of what might not come. The throne was veiled in heavy smoke, the cherub wings too wide to part, and mercy died where judgment slept, a seat untouched by even heart. The voice that once had shaped the world now cracked and vanished into dust, and songs of prophets turned to sighs, and oaths dissolved in sacred rust. No ark, no throne, no tongue remained, each one required to raise the call, but silence bound them one to one, and if one fell, the rest would fall. What once was conjoined into flame grew distant, fractured, cold with grief, and heaven's court became a cave with prayers like wind against a leaf. Where speech was lost, the world unspoke, the scroll unwound its final thread, and all who listened to the hush mistook the holy for the dead. The house stood cracked, its beams askew, its pillars sunk in blood and smoke, its name eroded by the wind, its crests removed, its seal a joke. The sons it bore were not of earth, but too immense to wear the name. They walked as shadows stretched by dusk, too loud for love, too wild for shame. The word that bound the house to sky had vanished from both tongue and right, and all they spoke were thunder sounds, not meaning shaped by firelight. Yet where two pieces still remain, the third may glimmer in return, a name half said, a house half built, a lineage that starts to burn. But if the word is lost too deep and sons forget the house they bear, then all the lines are drawn in dust and even echoes thin the air. So heritage becomes a myth, and myths decay beneath the sun. What once was one in sound and soul is now three ruins, each undone. The struggle writ in Jacob's limbs was not reborn in fire or flood, for what he wrestled left no mark but shattered joints and dried out blood. The ladder built to span the breach collapsed beneath its final rung, and all who climbed it carried down no word, no torch, no psalm unsung. The gate between the heights and depths became a wound, a starless hole, and prayers ascended, broke apart, then fell in fragments on the soul. The name once formed from wrestling flame was shattered in the angel's grip, and every syllable dispersed like light through broken manuscript. The remnant wandered, each alone, no common creed, no rallying fire, their dreams of altars left behind, their myths reduced to lost desire. No struggle born, no heaven reached, no echo held in living breath, just haunted steps on sacred ground, pursued by wind and fed by death. The breath was poured from vaults of flame, a light too wild for flesh alone, and mixed with clay from graves unborn to form a being not yet known. They bore the sky inside their chest, but walked with feet that cracked the mud. Their hearts half fire, their mouths half earth, their names still stained by watchers' blood. The image hovered in between, too holy to remain in dust, too weak to hold the full divine, too old for faith, too young for trust. And when the spirit fled the form, the frame collapsed with none to cry. But when the dust refused the breath, the voice turned bitter in the sky. Yet still they lived, the paradox of cursed design and sacred thread, their lives a sentence never closed, a prophecy not fully read. And in that fracture, something stirred. Between the tomb and flaming gate, a mirror cracked, yet half reflects the eye who once pronounced their fate. The beastling wandered through the thorns, unsought by rule, untouched by shrine. Its breath was wild, its eyes were clear, its name not lost, but still not mine. The shepherd walked the outer fields, away from rites beyond the gate, and heard a voice not meant for him, a sound too soft to carry weight. It called not kings nor temple priests, but those whose skin was marked by night. It sang through bramble, through the storm, a melody in broken light. The beast drew near, not out of fear, but called by cadence undefined, and knew its name, though none had taught, and walked beside the shepherd kind. The voice did not demand or burn, it only opened something bare, a wound that longed to be a door, a silence filled with shattered prayer. And there, between the wild and lost, the sacred rose on tethered breath, not bound by law but bound by care, a psalm that held the taste of death. The cloud hung low but bore no light, its folds unlit by sacred fire. No pillar moved to guide the lost, no pulse remained to lift desire. The tent was there, but nothing spoke. The veil remained, but none could part. Its cords were frayed, its bones were bent, No mercy left, no beating heart. The name once thundered on the mount fell silent in the sacred scroll. The breath that formed the stars withdrew and left the song without a soul. The priests still moved through empty forms, their robes a gesture, not a grace, and prayers decayed upon the tongue, unanswered in the hollow place. For when the eye becomes the knot, and presence folds into retreat, the house becomes a tomb of forms, a cadence set in slow defeat. Yet even still the hush held weight, a tension strung through soundless chords, as if the silence, strained to break, still listened for forgotten words. Then from the edge of void it came, a whisper first, then roaring flame. The cloud ignited not with wrath, but love, too bright to speak by name. It moved again, not as before, but low and near, with open hands, and met the people in their dust, not far above, but in their lands. The tent rebuilt was not the same. It breathed, it sang, it bore their pain. It gathered stone and ash alike and shaped them into light and rain. The name returned, but not as fear. It entered flesh, it broke the bread, it walked the path, it wept the grief, it shared the wine, it raised the dead. Now I and thou no longer war, but dwell within a single breath, where presence stands not high but close, and life is pulled from underneath. The voice now speaks in many tongues, the cloud now shines through every face, and every house can be a shrine when filled with love and truth and grace.